Here in the audience have been waiting for the it's the Leucadia item, and so we are going to have a staff presentation. All right, whenever you're ready, you can turn on your microphone and go.
Good evening, Deputy Mayor and City Council. The item before you this evening is to consider authorizing the City Manager to negotiate an agreement with M.W. Peltz and Associates for professional landscape architecture design services for the North Coast Highway 101 Streetscape project, CIP number CMS-04D, in the amount of $231,000 plus plus a $45,000 option to include Dan Burden as a subconsultant for additional public outreach. An RFP for the North Coast Highway 101 Streetscape project was released on May 30th, 2007 to obtain proposals for professional landscape design services. The submittal deadline was July 2nd, 2007. The project scope of work is to develop a design concept for an approximately 2-mile stretch of North Coast Highway 101, starting at the terminus of the downtown streetscape improvements located at A Street, going all the way up to La Costa at the northern boundary of the city. Additionally, a detailed design is to be provided for the southerly segment, extending approximately 1/2 mile at A Street northward to North Court. And for those of you who don't exactly know where North Court is, that's right where Panikin is. The scope of work also includes a citizen participation process, and as I might add, a very eagerly awaited citizen participation process. A total of 10 proposals were submitted for review and consideration. The RFPs were reviewed by both planning and engineering staff. Consequently, staff interviewed M.W. Peltz and Estrada Land Planning. Both firms appeared to be highly qualified for the project. Additionally, as part of the review process, staff also met with a few members of the Leucadia Highway 101 Main Street Association and the Highway 101 coordinator to discuss the proposals. Based on the consultant's proposal and past experience, staff concluded that M.W. Peltz is best suited for the job as it relates not only to the design work but also to the community participation process. The idea to include Dan Burden to participate in a portion of the public outreach process for the project evolved from the meeting with Leucadia Highway 101 Main Street Association and the Highway 101 coordinator. As many of you may know, Mr. Burden is an expert in the public facilitation process for traffic and walkable community projects. Based on staff's requests, M.W. Peltz did provide some cost estimates for 2 options to include Mr. Burden and his team in the public participation process. The proposed options varied in price to include an added fee of $45,000 to $60,000, depending on the format of the public outreach process. The option preferred by Mr. Burden modifies the participation process originally proposed as part of the M.W. Peltz RFP and involves an intensive 6-day workshop process. Based on past experience, staff does not necessarily prefer this methodology since it does not provide appropriate time for refinement and redesign based on public input. However, staff would still like the opportunity to further evaluate the public outreach process with both M.W. Peltz and Mr. Burden to determine if there's a viable way to integrate Mr. Burden's expertise and methodology into the process, whereby it provides the best results for the citizenry and the ultimate project design. With this in mind, staff has determined it appropriate to request $45,000 in addition to the $231,000 M.W. Peltz cost estimate for a total of $276,000. It should be made clear for the record that as a result of the negotiation process, we may not elect to utilize Mr. Burden's services, and if that's the case, we would fall back on the original process proposed by Peltz, which included 3 citizen workshops spaced over a period of time. In conclusion, this evening, staff recommends that the City Council authorize the city manager to negotiate an agreement with M.W. Peltz and Associates in the amount of $231,000 plus an additional $45,000 for an option to include Dan Burden. One note of order, a letter from the Leucadia 101 Main Street Association was submitted to council dated October 8th, 2007 in regards to this matter. That letter was transmitted to you earlier for review. Staff is available for questions at this time, and we'd also like to just take this opportunity to point out Mr. Peltz, Mike Peltz. He's here in the audience in case the council has any questions for you this evening.
All right, we have an opportunity for preliminary questions of Councilwoman Houlihan. We have two public speakers, by the way.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to, reading this and looking at the plan, that's first phase. Oh, that little thing is considered the first detailed phase, but the first phase also includes a concept design for the whole stretch, correct?
That's correct.
I thought so. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, first we would come up with the concept design.
Good.
And then from there, we would go to the detailed design based on that concept design.
Thanks.
Excellent, thank you. Can we hear from the public, please?
Yes. The first is Patricia Bell with time donation by Paula Kerpolani. And the second speaker is Kathleen Lees.
Welcome.
Good evening, Council. I'm Patricia Bell. I live in Leucadia, and I'm representing Leucadia 101 Main Street Association. On behalf of the Leucadia Highway 101 Main Street Association Board of Directors, let me say first of all how exciting it is to see an item regarding the North Coast Highway 101 streetscape on the agenda tonight. With the new sidewalks in Leucadia on Highway 101 coming schedule, knowing that we can also soon see streetscape plans discussed is very encouraging. After reviewing staff's report on negotiating an agreement with M.W. Peltz and Associates for professional landscape architecture design services for the North Coast Highway 101 streetscape project, we support authorizing the city manager to move forward on this, as well as additional funding for Dan Burden as a sub-consultant for additional public outreach. In particular, given Mr. Peltz's background, we request that one of the first tasks he undertake is to work with other city staff and the Leucadia 101 board to formulate a tree replacement management plan for the city. We have a great concern about the city's overall plan for tree replacement for Leucadia's historic canopies of trees along Highway 101. This became a priority for L101 with the recent removal of 3 large eucalyptus trees on Highway 101. Our group's concern was then greatly heightened when both of the Monterey cypress trees were removed in Leucadia Roadside Park on October 3rd. Our thoughts regarding the importance of forming a tree replacement management plan. 1, Leucadia's historic tree canopy. Leucadia has been historically linked to its beautiful tree canopy. Therefore, a plan for the tree canopy needs to be a second complementary component to the overall streetscape design, one that can be looked at separately. Leucadia's tree canopy can be part of the overall tree replacement management plan. Number 2 is trees in the new streetscape design. We are of the core opinion that a tree canopy is an essential component and key element for the North Coast Highway 1 streetscape design. Without a comprehensive tree canopy replacement, enhancement and maintenance plan being immediately adopted, the streetscape project will be here. We have a sense, number 3 is a sense of urgency. With the 3 large eucalyptus trees recently removed on Highway 101 near Phoebe, and others also removed within the last couple of years on the north end of Highway 101, Leucadia's historic canopy is disappearing. Since the streetscape design for the north end of Highway 101 is at least 10 years away, we don't feel we can wait for trees to be replaced as part of this later phase of the streetscape plan. Number 4 is a blueprint for planting trees. It seems reasonable that once the conceptual design for trees has been decided upon for the first phase, this plan can then be used as a blueprint to identify areas that can be planted now, rather than wait to do so many years from now. This can also be part of the overall tree replacement management plan. In closing, we are requesting that City Council extend the work plan and the project funding for the streetscape to include planting trees in the immediate future along the northern end of North Coast Highway 101 from North Court to La Costa Avenue, where there is an opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your comments.
The final speaker is Kathleen Lees.
Good evening, Kathleen Lees. I live on Urania in Leucadia, and I love Leucadia. I have lived in downtown Encinitas for a long time when it was quiet, and when my husband and I wanted to buy a house, we specifically looked in Leucadia because that's where I always wanted to go there, and become very fond of the trees, obviously, and just the whole general atmosphere. And coming from Los Angeles and watching that change during my lifetime from places like Leucadia to being what it is today, I've done everything I can to keep that from happening to what's left of our culture here in Leucadia. And I agree completely with what the Leucadia Main Street Association is saying. We have a plan for our trees. Protecting our trees is, almost on a weekly basis, you can see that we are not doing that. We're doing a terrible job of protecting our trees, and there's absolutely no way you can go back. You can't even buy a big tree to replace one. Once it's gone, it's gone. And a lot of the trees that are dying are only dying because they've been mistreated over the years. People have paved right up to them, and you name it, it's happened to our trees. So I think we need a comprehensive plan. I hear we have one, and I hear we don't have one. So whether we have one or not, it doesn't matter. We need to have one, and we need to have someone on staff. I understand we have 3 arborists on staff, and you wonder, well, then why do things keep happening? They're obviously not being given enough time to spend their time and their knowledge or whatever they should be doing. So that's what I would like to encourage us to do, and I think that this is a perfect opportunity for us to do it in Leucadia. I think it needs to be done citywide, but I think especially with our streetscape plan is a good time to do it. So thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
I definitely hope you will approve this tonight.
Thank you very much. Comments, motions, speak? We have Councilwoman Houlihan first.
Well, first of all, I'd like to move that we authorize the city manager to negotiate an agreement with M.W. Peltz and Associates Incorporated in the amount of $231,000, which is the base contract plus contingencies, plus an additional $45,000 for an option to include Dan Burden, if so desired. And then but I wasn't finished, so, yeah, and I had a couple comments. Thank you all for coming tonight. This is very exciting. It's going to be really great to get a conceptual plan and then start moving into phase 1. But I want to thank you all for also addressing the trees. That's been a concern of mine all along, and they are an absolutely critical part of streetscape, as is the canopy. So we've already earlier agreed that we're going to agendize tree management, whatever we want to call it, but also those aspects of trees that really do define, when we talk about community character, you could call the trees historic, you can call them anything you want, but when they define the character of a community, and trees do that all over this city, that's pretty special. So thank you for your thoughtful comments on tree preservation, maintenance, and management, et cetera, as well.
Councilwoman Barth?
Thank you. A question for staff. Because the RFP wasn't included in this, I'm not really sure the total scope of what was put before the consultants to bid on. So does this include the roadside park at all? Any work that might be done in there? Any enhancements to the roadside park?
No, it does not include the roadside park.
Okay. Would it be possible to include that? if we wanted to take a look at whether we wanted to include any enhancements, if that is part of the workshop period of time, if that comes from the community that they'd like to see something in their park?
Sure. Through the workshop process, that may occur because it's right there on the roadway.
Right.
There's some things that could come up where we might have to come back and get authorization for traffic studies and things like that. So things will happen. And if that does occur, if it results in more money, we can come back. But it may just be kind of included into the Streetscape program.
And also, this is, I'm assuming, on both the east and west side of 101 that you're talking about, or are we just talking about the west side?
It's both sides of 101.
It's
It's 101 Streetscape.
So then we could also talk a little bit about enhancing the Lucadia Boulevard crossing at the point there as it ends into 101 to
Correct.
work
We
with
would
North County
anticipate
Transit.
there was something, correct.
Where the orange sandbags are, so we could do something better than the orange sandbags, is that through this
Correct.
process?
We would have a concept
Okay.
that would be considered.
Okay,
Yeah.
They will be appropriate for Halloween, though.
thank you.
For
So I
Easter,
encourage the community to bring that up in the workshop period of time. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Councilman Gallagher.
Try to keep this real short and sweet. I'm obviously going to back it. It's a great thing. We need those trees. It was my niece and nephew's great-great-grandfather, as you know, had a lot to do with planning those things. And as I walk downtown from there over the years, how things have phased out. I mean, I'd really like to see that canopy back. And of course, there's ulterior motives for the people from DEMA with the banners and stuff. What would Luis Gonzalez paint if we lose all our trees?
All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor and some very entertaining comments. Why don't we all cast our votes?
The vote is 4 in favor, with Mayor Bond absent.
Can staff just get some clarification? It seemed like